Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to another episode of my recap of Family Boot Camp. Jesus Louises. every week. Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to another review of Marriage Boot Camp Reality Stars Family Edition. First and foremost, let me say thank you so much for those of you who watch these videos. I super appreciate all the time you've dedicated to watching these videos, but I have to make an announcement. I can no longer review this show. Unfortunately, the time it takes me to edit and produce these shows, it's just not sort of equaling out with the views, but I really do thank those of you who've taken time out to watch it. I really do. It's just not enough. It's just not enough. I love doing morning tea. I love putting on makeup and talking about Eon Love Fix My Life. I don't necessarily love watching Marriage Boot Camp Family Edition. It's a good show, but I don't love it, and the time it takes to put it together, to make the jokes, to get ready, to film it, to edit it, it's just not worth the engagement that it's getting. I'm just gonna require a little bit more engagement, and that's not your fault, and I don't need you to do anything about that. I'm just gonna move on and cut it where it is, you know? Lord knows I can't wait for 90 Day Fiancé to come back. Where we left off actually last episode, where we have Amber yelling. I mean, that's just basically the theme of everything, Amber yelling and getting upset. So we have the Zen room, where each of the families went into the Zen room, said a secret that they wanted to say, and then they went into the snake pit, and everybody's family did well except for the Joneses, and it was because Mama Jones and Jim Jones did not handle the snake situation very well. So now we're on to, I don't know what day it is and they're actually in the house, but we're on to the next episode. And in this episode, it's really interesting. Dr. Ish and Dr. V pulled aside one member of each of the families and told them to read this letter, and in the letter it told them that their family members would be going through a trial and tribulation that's going to be very difficult, and that in that moment that family member with the envelope needed to go into the confessional room, read the envelope out loud, read the letter out loud, and then choose what they were going to do. So either, without knowing what the task is, they needed to choose whether or not they were going to take their family member's place if the family member asked, or whether or not they were going to just let the family do it on their own. So this was an exercise to try to get the people to start to see who really had their back and who didn't, who would step up for them and who wouldn't. Or, on the other hand, to let the person who maybe normally steps in and normally helps their family step back and take a role that they don't normally take and see what their other family does about it. So it was a really interesting thing, because Renee chose to go in and say that she would step up and take over for her sisters if they needed her. Then you had a situation like Guy, and Guy said that he wouldn't take Brandy's place, that whatever that trial and tribulation that happened, that she would be able to handle on her own, that he's an older man and he didn't feel like he was fit enough to do whatever it is. So I don't know what he imagined, but he said no, he wouldn't. Then you had Matt, who was part of the Portwoods Teen Mom. Matt said that he would take the place of Tanya, the mom, or Amber, his wife, girlfriend. And then you had Jim Jones's family. They pulled aside Chrissy. Chrissy said that she would take the place of Mama Jones, and she would just let Jim Jones see what he was gonna do. Earlier in that part of the episode, when they were first pulling the people, Matt was sitting at a table with Renee and with Brandy, and they were just talking about how like erratic Amber's behavior has been. Brandy was like, honestly, is she on drugs? You know, like, what's the dealio? Matt was like, no, she's not on drugs, she's sober. And then proceeds to name all of the things that she's on, and one of the things happens to be a narcotic. Brandy's like, she's not off drugs. And Renee got upset, because Renee was like, you're not supposed to do that. As the family member of a recovering addict, you're not supposed to tell anybody what your family member or what the recovering addict is taking, and so that was way out of line for her. She was not into it. The reason the whole conversation came up to begin with is because Amber fired shots at Brandy. So they're all in the kitchen as they do in the morning, getting ready, doing whatever. Amber is having a glass of something, which to me, if you are a drug addict, you shouldn't be drinking alcohol. How she thinks that she should be able to drink when she had a pill popping problem, I don't understand that correlation, but I'm not a doctor and I'm not here to say what she should do. Brandy opens a bottle of rosé, which is her favorite drink, and she starts to imbibe, and Amber has a comment about it. And Brandy was not having it. Brandy was like, what are you saying? Like, I don't drink all day. This is my first drink today, and if today I do want to start drinking early, like, I'm gonna drink early. And I'm like, girl, drink, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's like, I don't have a problem and I'm fine. Like, this is not an issue. And Amber was like, I didn't say that. I didn't mean it like that. Like, whatever, you know, you don't have to get so upset. And Brandy is like, but you did say it. So I don't understand what you mean you didn't mean it like that. Like, you did say it. Like, that is what it is. So Now they have a little bit of a conflict going on. And while this is happening, Chrissy is having a little bit of conflict with Mama Jones and Jim Jones. She's talking about this whole entire proceedings and them being here and how they're not participating. And then she starts to jump into why there's an issue. Mama Jones is stating that the reason why there's an issue is because Chrissy decided to move to Miami, and that move to Miami sort of split Jimmy's attention because Jimmy's family is all in one area, I guess New York City, and her moving to Miami was causing strife because in Mama Jones's eyes, even though Chrissy and Jim aren't married, she is his wife. So how can his wife just up and move? It just was one other thing proving to Mama Jones that Chrissy doesn't have a good sense of family. And I think that's the issue, is that Mama Jones feels like Chrissy is not a family woman, like she doesn't understand family, or at least she doesn't understand Mama Jones's family. They start to get into an argument, and of course Jim leaves. He doesn't want to be involved in the conversation, and he doesn't want to be involved in the conflict, so he leaves, and that's a problem. That's the whole problem of this entire situation. The Carlucci sisters, that's not their name, don't seem to be in any strife right now, as far as I can remember in the episode, but you know, we're at the beginning of the episode, so who knows. Later on, we move to the exercise, the actual exercise. So it turns out that this situation that's trying, that the family member might possibly be in, is to have them dress up in a suit and have guard dogs attack them. Yes. So some of the family members, needless to say, are super scared. So you know who goes first? The Granvilles, Brandy and her dad. So we already know that her dad has decided that he didn't want to do it, that he said preemptively before we even saw what was going on, that he wasn't going to switch places with Brandy. So when it came time to go, he stood on the sidelines next to Dr. V and Dr. Ish, watched her suit up, and then they said go, and she started waddling off because the suit is really big, you know, so she started waddling off, running away from the guard dog, and all she had to do was get past this yellow line in the grass, and then it would be over. So as she's running, and the dog leaps to her, like grabs her by like this part, and I mean, when I tell you that I've not seen a grown-ass woman get dragged to the floor the way I've seen, I mean, just, it was insane. And her father watched it happen. And the whole time he's mumbling, oh, I'm uncomfortable with this. Like, oh, this is, oh, I'm not. Not one point did he step up and say, you know what, no, I changed my mind. I'm gonna help her. Nothing. He let her do it. Like a rag doll, this dog took her and slammed her to the ground. You know, she had been drinking too, so she was like woozy when she got out of it. You know, just like she had hit her head on the ground. It was like terrible. She was the first person to go. Every person after her had a helmet on. Brandy did not have a helmet on. They did not think about putting a helmet on her until after she hit her head on the ground. And no one else who did this thing got hit the way she did. Nobody else got dragged to the ground the way Brandy did. It was kind of dangerous, and if she didn't sue them, like, I don't know what. So anyways, we have the next family that goes up. It's the Matitucci sisters. That's not their name. So they go up next, and Renee has decided that she's not gonna step in and help her siblings. At the last minute, she steps in and helps them though, because they refuse to go. And she was ready though. So she made it seem like she wasn't gonna help them. And then as soon as they said no, she didn't even give them a chance to stew in it. She just was like, fine, I'll do it. So she did it. And that's what they knew exactly she was going to do. So she did it. She went forth. And the lesson that Dr. V said is exactly what I just said, is that Renee did not give him a chance to really say no and stand in that no. She immediately was just like, fine, if they're scared to do it, I'll do it. And that's the kind of sister she is. And that's where a lot of the resentment comes in, is that she's willing to do things for them that they're not willing to do for her. For them, it's about self-preservation. Lana is like, look, I'm not gonna break my back or hurt myself. They all saw Brandy go. They all think they're gonna go down the way Brandy did. It turns out that nobody else went down that way, but they're all worried about it. So Lana was like, no, I'm scared of dogs, and I don't wanna break my back or hurt myself. I'm older, like, I'm not trying to be in a wheelchair. And Jen was just like, no, nah, I'm not doing that. And she did not. So then we move on to the Joneses, and it's Jim and Mama who are gonna get into the suits. They both are very upset, saying they're not gonna do it, but they do get into the suits, and at the last minute, Dr. V pulls a switch and said, okay, we asked Chrissy if she would step in for somebody. She opted to step in for Mama Jones. And so Mama Jones and her switched, and Mama Jones was really grateful for her for switching, because she like was, you know, Mama Jones is like that big and this tall, you know? She wouldn't have bode well. So her and Jim do it. They're running, and for whatever reason, when they say ready, you set, go, and they both start to take off on their waddle run, The dogs both come after Chrissy and they drag her to the ground. They don't go after Jim at all, and he's standing there, not even trying to help her. Now, granted, perhaps if he had tried to intervene, the dogs would have taken up a hand or something of his, or turned, one of them would have turned and came towards him, but he has a full suit on, right? So like, and the trainers are right there. He doesn't even wave his arms. He's not screaming. He's not doing anything. He's just watching it, waiting for them to come and get Chrissy while the dogs attack her. And I thought that was so shitty. Like, I mean, from our point of view, we don't know what really happened. It looked really, really shitty. Meanwhile, the whole rosé thing is still happening. Amber is secretly simmering and angry at Brandy for Brandy being upset about her commenting on her drinking. She feels like Brandy shouldn't be upset. There's no reason for her to be upset because she didn't do anything. And it's just crazy. And also she thinks that Brandy was talking behind her back because this is seriously what happened. Amber makes a comment about Brandy. They get into a little altercation in the kitchen. They're on different sides of the kitchen island, so it doesn't matter. It's not like it's a real fight. It's just a back and forth, right? So then Brandy's like, fine, whatever. She doesn't want to get into an argument with the crazy Amber, right? So Brandy's just like, fine, whatever, I forgive you. And Amber's just like, I didn't mean it. Like, oh, you did it. Gets upset. So she leaves the kitchen, and when she's gone, Brandy continues talking about it, about how upset she is and how like it was uncalled for. But she doesn't necessarily want to have a go back and forth with Amber. So Amber's walking away and she hears Brandy continue to talk about it, so she turns back around and comes back in and is like, are you still talking about it? And Brandy's like, yes, I can't talk about it. And she's like, no, you can't talk about it behind my back. I'm just like, what kind of child is Amber to where she literally thinks that after this conversation that Brandy's not going to talk about it anymore? And how is it talking behind her back? It is the literal application of talking behind someone's back. That is what Amber has done in this situation. I'm like, Amber, talking behind somebody's back doesn't mean literally talking about them when they're not in the room or when their back is towards you. Like, it just means, like, you already know it's an issue. You already know she's gonna talk about it with other people. Like, I'm sorry, you're a girl and you grew up, right? You understand that that's what happens. Like, so at this point, the fact that you already know she has an issue is not her talking behind your back. It's simply her continuing to have the conversation without you. She doesn't want to have it with you because you're being aggressive and you're not hearing her side of the point. So why would she continue to have the conversation with you? It's not even a conversation, it's an argument. It's so dumb. Amber is so childish. It's like, it's infuriating. I don't know how those people are living in the room with her, and they are so annoyed with her. This whole time though, speaking of the Portwoods, Tanya is in bed like sleep or sick. I don't know if she has the flu. You know, I secretly think she's on drugs. One of you guys said she had a stroke, but there's something off about Tanya that I don't understand. And it's just like, the only person Amber has to go to talk about is Matt. She doesn't even know that Matt has already told everybody that she's still using drugs. So like, it's a whole little messy situation. Renee though is sticking her nose in everything. Renee, while I think Renee is correct, I don't think it's her job to try to right all the wrongs. And I'll tell you why just a second. So anyways, after this entire thing, they go into the living room and they have like a little corral roundup conversation about it. Girl, turns out that Amber decided to be once again petty towards Brandy. And when they're talking about the situation and they're calling everybody's bluff, everybody's looking sideways at Guy, who was Brandy's father, because he didn't want to switch places with his daughter. Everybody else made some kind of sacrifice except for him. And he stuck to his guns. So like, he's looking like a real jerk face. And so then Amber decides to bring out the truth and say how last night they were him and her were having a regular conversation, Guy and Amber. And all of a sudden Guy decided that he was going to tell Amber that Brandy was an escort and that he swears up and down that she's the one who told him that she was an escort. And Brandy is just like, Dad. Like, everyone is just like, Guy, why are you such a jerk? Like, you shouldn't be having private conversations with Amber about this. But also Renee pops up and is like, see, that's what I'm talking about. Why are you telling Brandy something like this in front of all of us? That's hurtful. You're just stirring shit up. Like, you're just stirring the pot for no reason and nobody needs it. And I'm just like, Renee is right, but she also didn't need to like pop off like that in front of everybody. Okay, so this episode is almost to a close, and you know who comes out to give us a little bit of knowledge and, you know, some Iyanla sort of life help? The judge, who I'm starting to think now might also be a reverend, because the way she's delivering, you need to. let them speak because you have the power for you. But you need to rise above the madness and let it calm down so you can pull out your power. It's like an interpretive dance whenever she comes out and talks about each family, and she gives them a little bit of information based on all of the things that she's seen from her 330-degree view above them because she's been watching the entire day. So I guess this is gonna be a thing that she does every single time. She's gonna come out in a coral or brightly colored dress and some cute heels, deliver a message, and then go away. Which is exactly what she did. So at the end of this episode, we end with basically everybody turning against Amber. Chrissy deciding that Amber needs to chill out, Brandy deciding that Amber needs to chill out, and Renee being all the way 100% done with Amber. All right, guys, let's move on to All About the Rosé, I believe it's called.